Let's start this bullshit. What is up, y'all? It's episode 10 of the Sports Cod podcast of Your House, Our Rules. We are back. Comment, rate, subscribe, do all the things down in the fucking description before you even fucking watch this video. We got through March Madness, guys. The first 2 weeks, or the first 2 rounds. I think that it's been a very, very enjoyable March Madness so far. It kind of lived up to the hype. We kind of were talking about a bunch of upsets, not quite the ones that I called, because the bracket that I filled out for the last one is doing absolute shit right now. If we come over here, take a look at this real quick. Just scroll on down. This is the one that I filled out right here down at the bottom. This is the one that I filled out afterwards, and it's currently in first place with a
This one's ass.
Yeah, it's called This One's Ass, 99%. And then we got Stolzy's tied for, I guess, 7th is what they put it, but I guess it's tied for 5th, actually. So the boys are doing all right in our little bracket so far. I wish we could have got this one out a little bit sooner so we could have had more guys in it, but we literally kind of dropped this video like the day it was starting. So, yeah, we got it. I mean, how you guys feeling about the first 2 rounds of the tournament? We'll go with Stolzy first.
I mean, outside, like, Purdue's one of those teams that I feel like if you didn't, I mean, obviously nobody really picks them to lose in the first round, but like, how many people really? I mean, there's some people obviously that had them going past the Elite Eight and whatnot, but it's just like last year. I think they lost to a 10 seed. So that's back-to-back years now we've lost to a double-digit seed.
I think Purdue's the team that's lost in the first round to like fucking 9 or below for the past 3 years.
Yeah, so it's like I don't think a whole lot of people had them going that far, so that really wasn't to be that surprised. Kansas, we kind of talked about that, how they're just kind of like they tend to choke come March besides last year.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, based off the seeds, like there's not that many surprises as to where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, we were watching that Kansas game because those are the 2 big ones. The 1 seeds going out before they even made the Sweet 16. And we had talked about how Kansas usually chokes, but we talked about how they usually don't choke until later because they've always got like a number 1, number 2 team that's always in contention. And this year they ran into an Arkansas team. We were watching the game, and a couple of my friends were like, "What the fuck is going on with Kansas?" And I was looking at them like, "I've seen Kansas play a couple times this year." I was like, "They did not look very impressive." So, I mean, you know, let's kind of move over here. Let's we'll take a look at my bracket first, and we'll kind of start off with what division you want to start off? East, West, Midwest.
We can just start south and.
Okay, let's start south. All right, so kind of looking what we got here. We got the matchups. I believe this is Friday. Yeah, so Friday we've got Alabama, San Diego State, Creighton, Princeton, Houston, Miami, Xavier, and Texas. This is the one that I'm really looking forward for because us being Cincinnati guys, love to see the hometown teams. One of my teams is still one of the 2 teams that I had in the tournament are still in. So at least we got that. X definitely struggled at the beginning against Kennesaw State, but ended up pulling up a pretty good comeback. And then, they kind of bodied Pittsburgh, who ended up bodying Iowa State, which was one of the shocking ones. So going into that game, I kind of like X's chances because I didn't like Texas all that much this year, but Texas has been looking pretty good in the tournament too. So I think that might be the closest game that we got of the Sweet 16. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I really like that matchup. Another matchup to watch out for, I think, is San Diego State against Alabama.
Really, you think
and what
so?
we're looking at here. Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot better or a lot closer of a game than what people would think.
San Diego State plays that bully ball. Like, they'll come right at you.
I mean, from what I saw of Alabama, they kind of play the same way. From what I've seen so far in the tournament, Alabama looks like the best team in the tournament right now.
They do, for sure, but they got to make shots. They have to. If they get a day where they don't make as many shots as what they typically do, and you get a team that's similar to what they are, that plays a similar style as what they play, then San Diego State is one of those teams that could upset them.
My counterpoint to that would be they play the SEC, and from what we've seen, the SEC's been pretty good this tournament, and they've played really good defensive ball, and that means that they've been playing the last half of their season fucking against the same teams that they are. So honestly, I don't like San Diego State in that matchup all that much. Like you said, it should be a little hard-nosed game, and it'll probably be close, but I think Alabama's going to end up edging them out a little bit. So,
and I really liked Miami going into the tournament.
Miami's good.
I actually was one that said I think that they would do go decently far. I don't know if it's going to be Sweet 16 or maybe get past Houston and make it to the Elite Eight, but they were one of my sleepers coming into this. I thought they were gonna
Right.
do pretty well, and so far they have for sure.
I could definitely see Miami upsetting Houston. Houston hasn't looked all
Exactly.
that good to me so far. They whooped up on Auburn, but I think that was a pretty close game until like the second half, wasn't it?
What yeah, it
The
was.
Houston Auburn game. Yeah.
It was, yeah. Auburn hung in there. They
Yeah.
were up, I think, by like 8 or 10 at halftime.
Yeah. And then, you had the Northern Kentucky game, a 1 versus 16 seed, which a lot of people were talking about. That might be the first 16 versus 1 to upset in the tournament. NKU just got out of whack at the end of that game. They were forcing up shots, and that's the reason why they ended up losing by, I think, 8, 11.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
typically what happens with those seeds.
That was all done in like the last 6 minutes. I remember watching that game, like praying that Northern Kentucky was going to fucking upset Houston. But yeah, it is what it is. So let's move on a little bit to that the upset game that we got right there, the 6 versus the 15, fucking Creighton versus Princeton. What are you guys seeing in that game, Stolze?
Princeton sprays, dude. Like Princeton shoots the lights out of the gym. Like they are like, and they just play their classic Ivy League team that we were kind of talking about. Like they had that same thing that we were kind of thinking Drake might upset because of, where it's just white boys that can shoot the three, they pass the ball, they run a motion offense, and they play man defense, and it is hard to play with that for 40 minutes straight.
Yeah,
it's hard to play defense running off screens for that long.
Well, the thing about that is it's because this is what Duke always lives and dies by. They're a fucking 3-point shooting team. If they don't make threes, which happens a lot, it happened to them early in the tournament this year. They fucking who'd they end up getting matched up against? Tennessee. They couldn't make threes against a good defense like Tennessee, and that ended up making them suffer. So,
another crazy stat I saw about Duke, just to throw this in there real quick, was that like I think it was 67% of their scoring on the year it came from freshmen.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very they're
Which
very
is
heavy.
like that's hard to carry freshman scoring into March Madness, especially when like you look at these teams. A lot of them are sophomore, junior, senior heavy. There's not a whole lot of one and dones on these teams that are left.
Right.
Which is what I've been talking about for the last, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, that I think they should, more teams like that, like your Dukes, your North Carolinas, your
Villanovas,
Kansas, those guys, like they
be
should,
like Villanova is what I'm saying.
Exactly. They should transition more into having some, 3 and 4 star guys that come back and play junior, senior year, and, kind of like Darius Miller was for that Anthony Davis team that Kentucky had in 2012. If it wasn't for Darius Miller, those guys wouldn't have won a national championship.
Exactly. We talked about that on Friday last week when we were watching
the
original game. But we talked about that a couple times. Darius Miller was such a clutch player for that team.
He was. You got to have that. Got to have that veteran, that somebody take on the leadership role, and then you've got some other good guys around you for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at what I got right now. I've got Alabama coming in. Arizona already got knocked out. I just with the Creighton Princeton game, I just don't know what to do.
Creighton sprays too.
You think that they're gonna just knock them out hard, Stolze?
I don't know, man. I like McBucket's dad. He's a good coach, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I like McDermott.
I think I might have to take Creighton. They travel back to Princeton, fucking coming back to a different city after a couple days. I don't necessarily know if they're going to shoot lights out like that again. Creighton's been a pretty good team from what I've seen. So I think I'm going to end up having Creighton and Alabama going in that, and then Alabama coming out that to the Final Four. And then I can't go against X, so I'm going to have to take X in that game. And I might like Miami to take the Houston game, but I think X has a good shot at this point of playing in the Final Four. It just depends on what team shows up. If they show up like they did in the first round, probably not. But if they show up like they did in the second, then they should be good to go.
I don't care who wins, other than I do not want to see X. Bad.
Yeah. So,
X is one of those. X is like Houston, right? Where it's like if their three isn't working, they're in trouble because they give up a shitload of points.
Yes, they do.
Their defense is not good. Like if their 3-point isn't working, and what's his name, Boom.
Mm-hmm.
If Boom's not having a good game, it's hard for them to get going. Yeah.
So I got yours pulled up right here, and you got Houston winning the national championship in the good one that you got going on here, the one that still kind of makes sense to pull up here. So you got similar to me, Texas, Alabama, don't have the Arizona Baylor or whatever, and then Houston. So Actually, if I'm looking at this objectively, I think that I might want Miami to knock them out to get ahead of you a little bit because I think a lot of people got Houston going a little bit farther than I did. So, yeah. What are you liking with the rest of this tournament though? For this upper section that we got here, Mike.
Let's see. We'll move up. It's not on my screen.
It's not. You don't see it on the.
I mean, the
Over
bracket
here,
is, but it's still the. Oh, gotcha. Hold on.
Yeah.
There we go. No, hold on. That's still the Alabama, Houston. That's part of that part of the bracket is still up on my screen.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah. This is Stolze's bracket.
Oh, this is Stolze's.
Yeah.
No.
These teams are the teams that won. These are the teams that he had.
Oh, see, I didn't see that. I did my vision. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, so I got a voicemail. When was it? Monday? Yeah, Monday. I got a voicemail from a huge ex fan that's in my office. I won't name his name.
Do it.
No.
Dox him. Where does he live?
He lives over in Delhi somewhere, which sucks in itself.
That's
but
right by me.
yeah, no. Well, good. Then you can go burn his house down. No. Anyway, he asked what I was doing Friday because since Kentucky won't be playing and X will, he asked if I could jokingly asked if I could show a house for him since he'd be busy watching Xavier play. So he got blocked. He got blocked for 2 weeks. That's my rule. Talk shit about Kentucky during March Madness. You get blocked
for 2 weeks for talking.
You get
shit.
blocked for 2 weeks. Nidix probably doesn't even know that I blocked him. Hopefully he watches this podcast. I'm telling you, there's 3
Probably
people that
not.
have been blocked.
Wasn't he supposed to come over with all those people on Friday? That's relevant. We're not gonna get into that. But fucking
No.
Either way,
He wasn't.
So-
yeah, I blocked him.
so you're saying you don't like X? That's the one thing that you gotta say.
I don't want because the people that root for X, especially the guy that said made that call out of my office, those people have always given me shit when Kentucky loses in March in this tournament, and so whoever it is that they root for, I want to see them lose. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I've always had respect and good vibes from X people.
I would if I didn't get the kind of shit I get from those people. I would. I wouldn't mind seeing X advance if that were the case, but it's not. So fuck them.
It is what it is. So he's not taking X, but do you see any outliers on this side of the bracket that you'd like to?
I mean, not really. It's pretty. To me, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think Houston will. I think Miami's run's probably going to be done. I like Alabama. I like Alabama to make the Final Four in this. I have not seen Princeton or Creighton play, so I really can't comment too much on that. And Texas is a lot better team than what I think people give them credit for.
Okay.
A lot better team.
So
They got really good wins on their schedule.
So you think
Yes.
we're going the 1-1 on that side of the bracket, that upper part of the bracket?
I do.
Okay,
Yes.
Cool. Well, we'll see what we go as we move down to the lower end of the bracket. What we kind of got here, this is a sad one to see down here. Us being Kentucky fans, Kansas State. I really, and the thing about it is too, now that we've moved by and I'm in first place, this is the game that kind of matters the most for me. If Kansas State, fucking the guy right behind me, James, has them in the Final Four. So if they were to lose this game, that would be huge for me. And against Michigan State, Izzo's got his team looking really good right now. So it might look like another deep run for the fucking Michigan State Spartans, man. I think that, in my opinion, I kind of like them in that game. Because, Kansas State played against Kentucky. Kentucky, as we've said a couple times, they just weren't this good that good this year. And I don't think that they really outplayed fucking Kentucky. That's a game that Kentucky should have won. It's just when it came down to it, they didn't have it in them. So I'm taking Michigan State there. This side kind of got a little bit fucked up. I think that Tennessee is going to end up waxing FAU, even though Tennessee doesn't really wax anybody. But FAU kind of walked to a fucking... I mean, that Memphis game was really, really, really good. One of the best games of the weekend, outside of maybe the Forum and Arizona game, big upset. But I just didn't see the talent to compete with a team like Tennessee. Over here, we got some Arkansas, UConn, and then Gonzaga and UCLA. I need Gonzaga to come out of this because I have them as the championship in my bracket. But I think they might beat UCLA. I don't know if they're going to take on UConn, who's probably going to beat Arkansas. But Arkansas might end up sneaking an upset on that game too. So That's kind of what I got. I got the Final Four being probably UConn and Michigan State at this point in time. So, what do you guys
I
think?
mean, those aren't bad picks, honestly. Tennessee
No.
obviously looked stronger than what I thought they were going to be coming in because I thought Duke was on a roll.
Well, Duke couldn't shoot worth a shit in that
They
game.
but they couldn't.
And
they
they
couldn't
had
shoot.
injuries too.
Yeah.
And Tennessee's had a top 5 defense
Oh, yeah.
in Division One all year, which is shocking how they lost twice to Kentucky. But that's irrelevant now. But Tom Izzo, man, it's March. This is when that man shines. That's when his teams shine the most. But you're right, Spilly. Kansas State did not beat Kentucky. Kentucky beat Kentucky. And
A
unfortunately,
lot of free throws.
dude, a lot of mistakes, man. And unfortunately, they couldn't advance. I could see Michigan State taking out Kansas State and moving on. That Gonzaga UCLA game, wow, what
That's gonna be
game
a
that's gonna
grinder.
be. That's going to be a grinder. And Arkansas UConn, I've liked UConn coming into the tournament. I've liked them a lot, actually. So I could see, like what you're saying, Spilly, I could see a Michigan State and a UConn advancing through this.
Yeah. And I could use, when it comes to my bracket, I always kind of root for the upsets either way, but I could use a loss for UConn there because that actually benefits me. Yeah. I think Stolze might be able to sneak up on me still, and he's got UCLA. No, that was your other bracket that you had UCLA winning it all.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help me as much. But yeah, I mean, regardless, I think that we were kind of set up for a pretty good Sweet 16 so far. What do you got coming out of this lower part, though, Stolze?
I think Michigan State does beat Kansas State at this point. Michigan State's playing super, super well, obviously. And they got a ton of length on their team too, where it just seems like everybody on their team's like 6'5", 6'6".
They're big boys.
And they're just athletic, and it's just one of those things where they're just a good, well-rounded team. And obviously, I think Tennessee will beat FAU, and I think it's kind of fascinating like how similar Tennessee and Michigan State are. Like when you look at their two rosters and what they look like when they're playing on the court and everything, like they look almost like the same team.
Yeah, I was looking at that potential matchup, and I was like, that's probably the Elite Gate game to watch if we get Tennessee.
Oh, I
Michigan
can't wait.
State.
I hope we get that game.
Yeah,
that's
for
what
sure.
I really want.
Yeah. Any other comments on that side of it? So you got Michigan State, Tennessee, and then probably UConn or UCLA, I'd imagine.
Yeah, at this point. Yeah.
I can't believe Kansas lost, to be honest with you.
I can.
I'm not saying Arkansas is not a good team. I was just surprised. I mean, Kansas,
Well, they had that
Kansas,
game in the bag too.
they did. They did. They made some mistakes, but I mean, they're well rounded. They're very, they're a somewhat veteran, and you throw in some good younger guys, some good younger talent. I could see Kansas making the Final Four this year, and possibly winning back to back for the first time since Florida did it in 06, 07.
I mean, he's always got his boys playing well in the tournament this year, but I remember watching like Kansas a couple times, like I said before this year, and I was like, this team's not very good. They lost 4 in a row at one point. They had multiple losses and just hung in the top 10 because they were fucking Kansas and didn't lose early. So, I mean, when I saw that, I was looking at the Arkansas game. I was like, I don't know about that one. I was like, I don't know if a good physical ball, because like when they played Kentucky, I was watching Kansas. I was like, Kentucky's not very good, and fucking they're hanging in there with Kansas for the majority of the game. I was like, this Kansas team just ain't it. So
yeah, but Kentucky beat Arkansas at Arkansas, like walloped them, like not even a month
Also
ago.
beat the shit out of Tennessee.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah, couldn't get it done against Kansas State. So that team's
SEC's looking good.
The team's been all over the place, man. Yeah, the SEC.
What we were
is
saying in the
good.
pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
When we were looking at our brackets, was that the SEC and the Big 12 are the two that really stand out, like bracket-wise and the schedule that they played leading up.
After the first 2 games, they were 5-2, I think it is, and one of those losses was a play-in game, which I have a rough time even counting. And then we've got 3 of the 16 teams, I believe it is, just 3, right? Yeah, 3 of the remaining 16 teams are from the SEC. And then
They're from the Big 12.
Are they from the Big 12?
Texas and
Kansas
State.
Which a lot of those must have got knocked out last round because the Big 12 and SEC were the 2 big ones that coming out of the first round, from what I remember.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, kind of looking for some good matchups coming up this weekend. I'm pumped about it. I missed work this Monday because I got so fucked up this goddamn weekend for like 4 days straight. So, looking forward to not having fucking multiple days like all day. Because, you know, when you're sitting there at 12 o'clock and watching it until 12 o'clock for 4 days straight, these games don't even start until like 6 o'clock tomorrow or something like that.
Bro.
Yeah,
This
I'll
is-
find. I'll
This
find
is
out who.
completely unrelated, but like this can't wait because like I'll forget to cover it later. Foster Moreau just tweeted through somewhat of a miraculous process. This free agency period has been life changing for me. During a routine physical conducted by the Saints medical team down in New Orleans, I've come to learn that I have Hodgkin's lymphoma and will be stepping
Wow.
from football.
Wow.
Whoa.